Shalom, shalom, Sister Deborah, prophetess in the wilderness. And you know what? That's all right with me. Coming again on this Devil platform with another message. I will say this is a lovely day in which the Most High Yah has made, and I, Sister Deborah, shall rest therein. Just coming today with a little something, something. I know you all have not heard from me in weeks. That's a good thing for me, and I hope that it is for you. Yah has been dealing with me on many topics and many things, and I thank Him for putting in me and ordering my steps of not being addictive. And what I mean by that is not loving something more than loving Him. I am so addicted to the love of Yah to where I can't think throughout the day, throughout the hour, nor the minutes, nor the seconds of the day without just reminiscing and glorifying Him. You know, when I lay down, when I toss and turn at the midnight hour, when I'm awakened by Him in the midnight hour, when I get up in the morning, when I'm throughout the day, throughout the noon, and throughout the evening, I'm always thinking of how great He is, how excellent He is, how perfect He is, how awesome He is, how wonderful He is, how good He is, and woe, and how powerful, and all power rests within Him. I think about where He was from in the beginning and how everything became to where it's at today. I always look to the hill. That hill is Him, you guys, for every issue that come upon this earth. I look to the hills. If I see a tree that's dead, I look to Yah and say, what is this that I see it, Father? It's always words for me He gives to me. He puts it in my spirit and He ministered to me. I was lying down yesterday, and this is several times in the last week that He's given me this topic which I'm going to discuss. And I'm not going to hold you long, but it is so many times where I feel like a piece of hair. I wanted to come before you, but I thank the Most High Yah in His greatness that the only thing I'm addicted to is His love. I'm not addicted to these platforms. I'm not addicted to nothing on the face of the earth. I'm not addicted. And you best bet it's not my flesh. It is the spirit of who Yah is that rests in me, that keep me from being so addicted to where I can't stay off of YouTube, or I can't function without doing something that I normally do over and over or throughout the schedule of my life. Yah is the beginning, and He is the end of my life. He is the start of the day and the end of the day of my life. And I give Him all praise and glory for being who He is all by Himself. He don't need Sister Deborah. He don't need you to make Him who He is. He's still that great, perfect, excellent, awesome, faithful, powerful, all powerful Creator, in spite of who we are. So I'm coming to you in a topic in the book of Genesis, and I'm going to bring this to you, and I'm going to route all over the place, and in hope that someone out there that's waiting for this word, that they may meditate on it and think of the goodness of the Most High Yah and what He's saying and have been saying. I learned so much being off the media, being away from the news and all this stuff that is actually going on. You know why? Because I believe that everything that was is, everything that is was, everything that shall be has already been in my Father's eyes. So therefore, I don't need to focus hardcore or how it's coming to pass, but that it is what he said it would be. And the part that catches me is the birth pain of it. It's so hurting. So I thank him for being with me through these birth pains, because if it wasn't for him, Sister Deborah would not be sitting before you speaking. He has held me through it all, and he's going to take me all the way to the end. And I thank him. When I say take me, be there for me. And I thank him for that, because what I'm learning is that people are all over the place, Deborah. They're on the west, east, north, and south. They just going to and fro, trying to justify and clarify and identify what he have already prophesied. If I just trust in what he has already said. Why I trust in that, Deborah? Is because it's in my spirit. That one that's greater is in me. So I'm going to trust that he got these situations. He's in full control over these birth pains. Trust in him and know that all things, like he says, need be, Deborah. This need be that it may fulfill what he has already prophesied. It's worse than what the people are saying. It's worse than what your natural eyes can see. Except you see it in the spirit, you're going to stumble in the natural. You're going to be going to and fro, trying to justify, clarify, and identify what is actually taking place. Every time something happens, people are going to drill it into you so you can see it the way they see it in their flesh. But until you see it in the way that the Most High Yah has predestined it, has ordained it, has prophesied it, you ain't seen nothing yet. See, we're seeing these things in the natural. But I thank him for being my shield and my comforter and my protector in the spirit realm, that caused my flesh to stand down and know that he is who he said it is. And I thank the Most High for that. I'm going to go over Genesis. And we're going to go to Genesis, the 3rd chapter. And we're going to cover something that the Most High want you to know today. My glasses are very needs cleaning. We're going in Genesis. And let me see where we're going to start here. I'm cleaning my glasses here. But I tell you this. You ain't seen nothing yet. Not out of the natural eyes. Until you have walked the walk with him. And he has shown you in the spiritual realm how the birth pains are actually going to pan out and sum out. Okay. Now we're going to go to Genesis. Chapter 3. Okay. And we're going to start on verse 21. And we might go down. We might have to. So you can get the fullness of what Sister Deborah is saying to you. Well, last night, he was dealing with me on something he has dealt with me on in the last week. And that is no. Okay, and in knowing, he wants us to understand what is actually taking place. He said, knowledge shall increase. Knowledge is a form of knowing shall increase. Okay, you got to understand what knowledge and knowing having in common. They are the same. knowledge and knowing are one of the same. Okay, you have to understand that. Okay, because a lot of people thinking because he said in the last days knowledge is going to increase, it meaning that they're going to get more of what they didn't know. It ain't got nothing to do with you getting more of what you did not know. It's just that you're going to, because honestly, it ain't never left anywhere. It's just that you're going to look for it, and it's going to be right before you even wanting to study or search for it. It's going to be right before your face. Why? Because it was there from the beginning. Let's go there. Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. And the Lord God said, behold, man is become as one of us. Okay? To know, there go know. Knowledge. Know and knowledge is one of the same. To know, it says, good and evil. So in these last days, okay, you're going to know good and evil, in which you have turned away all these thousands of years, even in the midst of today, how they will not teach you. They will not show you what is actually taking place. But Sister Deborah realized they can't show you what Yah haven't given them to show you. Oh, they can show you what they've learned in their flesh. But is it what Yah is trying to say to you in your spirit? See, he only deals with your spirit. He could care less about your flesh. Because that don't worship him. That don't know how to obey him. That don't know how to do his will. That don't know how. Your flesh don't know how to do nothing but to fail the Most High Yah. But once you come in that walk with Yah in spirit, then you begin to step in the realm in which you have never stepped before. And that is why Sister Deborah found it to be easy for me to stand back from these platforms, because I don't represent the platform itself. There's so many people addicted to this platform that they can't stay off of it, feeding you the meals for your flesh. Okay, we talk about the food that we eat. They talk about the dietary law. What difference does it make? That's for your flesh. What's different from eating the unclean food for your flesh versus eating the unclean word, spiritual word? Not, you ain't getting the spirit, the natural word for your flesh. It's no different. So somebody who's eating shrimp and pork is no different than the people on this platform, okay, eating meals for their flesh, meaning messages, entertaining, it's going in. Their itchy ears, teaching them stuff that has no spiritual leadership toward the face of the Most High Yah. It only feeds their flesh, satisfy their flesh, make their flesh think that, oh, you getting a full meal deal, oh, it's so good. So it's no different than eating the pork, the shrimp, and those things is unclean for the flesh. It's no different. It's no different when you get on this platform and eat for the flesh throughout year after year after year after year, all the way up until the year of 2020. No one is feeding you spirit and truth. So therefore you are eating the unclean food. And you have chosen to do so. And you have gotten so many Mickey D's. All this here, you know, we want to say follow the dietary law, don't eat the unclean, but yet what are you feeding the people? The unclean word. And the unclean word is for the flesh. The people need something for the spirit. That's the only thing that's clean, is that which is for their spirit. That which these people on this platform is feeding you all is messing with your fleshly mind, your fleshly heart. Everything that represents your flesh, that's what they're feeding. You're not getting your spirit fed. Because if you're getting your spirit fed, let me tell you, you'll realize that everything you're being taught on these platforms is setting you up from the floor up to turn away from that which is spirit and truth. And no one has figured that out yet. But you might not ever figure it out, because the Most High Yah said, Deborah, this need be, for the gate of righteous is narrow and very few. So can Sister Deborah change it? No. But Sister Deborah don't have to stay on this platform continuing to hear the food for the flesh. Okay? And realize that 99.9, which is her count, spiritual, the people are eating from their flesh. This is where the deceiving is coming from these platforms. Deceiving many from the platforms. They're not on the streets. They're from the platforms itself. It's feeding the people the unclean food, because the unclean food is for their flesh. They're not giving them anything for the spirit. But it need be, said the Father, because if he has not given them the spiritual food, and the spiritual food does not rest within them, then they can't give them no more than what they have, which is for your flesh. So that's why your flesh is so satisfied. Let me set an example. A person that drinks and excessive, and now people or themselves won't admit that they're alcoholics, but they drink during the day, the morning, the night. People who smoke drugs or take drugs or smoke drugs, everything in them is right. They don't see nothing wrong with drinking from morning to night. They don't see nothing wrong with drugging day and night, night and day. Months, weeks, days, years. They don't see nothing wrong. Why? Because it's pleasing the flesh. That's how it is on these platforms. No one see nothing that the people are saying or doing and teaching. They think they in there. They think they worshiping Yah. And they have no spiritual. What did Yeshua say on the mountain? Man don't live on bread alone. He letting you know the flesh is for the bread is for the flesh. But every word, which is the word that proceeded out of Yah's mouth, is spirit. So if you're on these platforms and you're constantly hearing these messages, you ain't doing nothing but being deceived. Because if you ain't felt or you haven't received the spirit of the Most High Yah, and he have revealed to you that you're eating the unclean food on these platforms, then therefore you ain't who you think you are. And Sister Deborah has the right to say that to you. I have the right to say that to you because of what he has called me to. And I can be able rightly dividing the spirit from what is not. Because I have turned my whole life over to the Most High Yah in spirit and in truth, because he has birthed that in me. I'm in captivity to Yah. I can't come out. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't, because my mission was sealed before the foundation of the world. And I realized that. That's why Sister Deborah can get on this platform and say, I'm free. I'm free. I'm free indeed in Yah. I'm in captivity to him, but who wouldn't want to be? I say. That's lovely to me. But so we're going to go back to Genesis 3 and verse 22. This word no, they have become like one of us. No, us represent their spirit. No, good and evil. That's dangerous, you guys. That is so dangerous. What Sister Deborah speaking to you this morning is very dangerous. So I advise you right now to go to the next video somewhere else. Because if you hear what I'm about to say, then Yah's going to charge you to it. Okay. Now, in verse 22, Genesis 3, verse 22, it says, And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us. Know. To know. See, us represents spirit. That's who us is. Us represents spirit. Now their spirit knows good and evil. He ain't talking about the flesh here, y'all. He ain't talking about the flesh. He's talking about the spirit. Something Sister Deborah has been talking about for the last 6-7 months. Tapping into your spirit, man. You can't serve God in your flesh. He ain't got time for that. You can be serving him in your flesh, thinking you in there all you want. You can be in there right here today. Everybody sitting up in the church, thinking they in there, doing anything and everything, pedophiles, everything. Every alcoholic says you today they are not an alcoholic. Every drug addict tells you today they are not a drug addict. Every murderer will tell you they are not a murderer. Every rapist will tell you they're not a rapist. But Sister Deborah is here to tell you, yes, you are. Those things which you are is in your flesh. The one thing we didn't know. That's why he said in the last days, knowledge, meaning you're going to definitely 100 know in the last, because that's your only chance. Because when you stand before him, he's going to show you in the beginning, you knew, and in the end, you know. It ain't going to be no heavy judgment, because the judge has been set right before you today. In the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 22. Man has become like one of us. We know that us is not the flesh. He's talking about the spirit. What is he saying about the spirit? What is he saying, Deborah, about us? He's saying that man now have become like one of us, knowing the difference between good and evil. Knowing about it. See, at first they only knew righteous when they were created. Good and evil wasn't even on the scene. But now, only way good and evil exist was in the ideal of what Yah knew. That was in spirit. That was in heaven. He knew what good and evil was. Okay? So now, man, when he sinned, he now know. Know, meaning knowledge. Good and evil. Could that good and evil give him a ticket? A plane fare to heaven? No. Because Yah is going to tell you, but except, hallelujah, he reached for the tree of life and eat of it and live eternal. So we know that this good and evil is not what they have been teaching you. And you're thinking you all good because you know who you are. That's not the key. That's not going to get you there. It's not. Okay? One thing about Genesis that has been, say for instance, in the days the parents used to have a belt. I don't know nothing about it because my parents didn't discipline us with the belt as often. We just when we got in trouble, we got whooped with the belt, but it wasn't something that happened all the time. But say for instance, my parents had a belt. Okay, and when we did something we should not have done after they told us not to, and we continue, we got a whooping. Okay, well, that's what Genesis is to Deborah. When Yah have to discipline me, he whooped me in Genesis. Because in Genesis, man can't tamper, man can't precept, Man can't lie. Man can't little here and little there. Man can't switch and turn and flip. It carries too much power because Yah sealed it so that you can get the beginning. Just like he sealed revelation so you can get the beginning and the end. And there it is right before you. Because see, he had to do that. That's why for thousands of years, even to today, nobody go into Revelation. Because it's spirit and truth. Just as Genesis. A lot of them escape, run into Genesis at the beginning. They kick it to the side and they run to Matthews or they run to the New Old Testament later on down. They get away from everything that started at the beginning in Revelation in the end. They run from those 2 chapters. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Because I'm going to tell you, if you ain't living this thing under spirit and truth, you lost anyway. You lost when it come down to really understanding Yah in spirit and truth. See, you lost anyway. Because this thing come by spirit and truth. This thing don't come by all these laws and rules man set and say you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, or else you ain't following Yah. You lost anyway. Because you decided to trust in another God over the Creator. And people don't know that's what they're doing. When you turn to these videos and you trust in what these people are saying, you saying to the Most High, yeah, I don't trust you. I trust them and what they say about you, but I don't trust you. You have a reason to say that because you trust in only what you receive in your fleshly mind, your fleshly thought, your fleshly heart, your fleshly everything, your ear, your hearing is fleshly. So therefore, you ain't trusting nothing spiritual, no way. So you getting exactly what you desire. That's why, see, a lot of people don't understand what Yeshua was saying when he was on the mountain. Man don't live on bread alone. He letting you know, kick that flesh to the curb, y'all. Because this thing is spirit. They didn't get it. Even to today, year 2020. They don't understand the whole idea of Yeshua being on that mountaintop was to separate the flesh from the spirit. That's what it was all about. You know, Yeshua didn't, the devil didn't have no power over Yeshua, but Yeshua wanted to send a message to Sister Deborah. See, Sister Deborah, I'm trying to separate something right here, and I want you to get it. Now, I want you to get this. Now, I want you to understand the difference from the flesh. I want you to understand the difference from the spirit, so I'm going to separate them on this mountain. Now, you get it. I can't help but get it, because when he sung that Ruach, I'm going to tell you something. When the Most High sung his Ruach, that's the best thing I could even look for or desire or want, even to this day and time. Let's go back to 22. I want to stay on it. It's so much, and would you believe a lot of things? There's 3 things I've said to you that I did not know. But as I'm speaking it, the Spirit of the Most High is teaching me as I teach it unto you. As I give it unto you, he's teaching it to me in my spirit realm. And I'm like saying, you don't get it. You don't get this, you guys. So this is not for you. I'm saying in me, wow. Wow. Because watch this here. In here he said in verse 22, and the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us. See, man didn't become as one of us to know what we know until he sinned. Now he knows good and he knows evil. No. He said in the last days, knowledge shall be increased. That means knowing good and evil. That's the other chance he gave you at the end. It's no reason why we should be walking all crooked, gab-legged, all wobbly, and all over here and all over there and all over the place. There's no way. He's saying I gave it to him, Deborah, at the beginning. And I prophesied it at the end that the knowledge shall be increased. They thinking the knowledge of who they are. They think it's the knowledge of who he is. They thinking it's the knowledge of everything these males and females are teaching on these platforms is the knowledge he's speaking of. None of it is. Sister Deborah coming to tell you you've been had. The knowledge in what he's speaking of in the last days is the knowledge that's connected to the beginning in Genesis chapter 3 verses 22, knowing good and evil. He just wants to let you all know today, this thing don't start when you come to your understanding. This thing don't start when you become knowing who you say you are. This thing don't come just because you know how to quote a name they said a name is. This thing don't start that. This thing started from Genesis, from the beginning. No! Man has become like us, one of us. Knowing. No. And knowing is the same. Good and evil. So he said at the end, Deborah, it's going to be in their face so clearly seen. Good and evil. It's going to be in their face just that clear. Knowing it. Knowing what? Good and evil. You know why he said it like that in the last days? Because he knew in the beginning he spoke it. That it was present. So we're walking around thinking, oh, we just getting this. No, you's a lie from the pit of hell that's so deep you ain't found it or understood it. That's a lie. Biblical knowledge has always been present. He said it right here in Genesis. Knowing good and evil. So all this stuff that you're saying, that you're seeing today and that's happening today, you're lost without a cause. See, what we're doing is we making today a different day than been what was prophesied. See, today was prophesied. What shall it be? But if you really go back to Genesis, well, that's the belt y'all use to chastise me, to discipline me. So when you go back there and you start to see these things, you saying, wait a minute, Father, y'all, these people being misled. To think this thing just not started, or this thing is going on because they the people, or they know who they are. These people don't understand. Here in Genesis it says, man has become like one of us. He wants you to understand us represent spirit. And listen to what Sister Deborah is saying. What he's saying is, spirit, you are being warned about good and evil. If you want to say all your life you weren't warned, or you only understood it in the flesh, Yah said in the last days knowledge shall be increased. Knowing shall be increased. That's why you have to turn from your evil, wicked ways. Why? Because knowledge has been increased. That means the spiritual has been released for you to grip 100. It ain't going to be this knowledge of the flesh like you're being taught on these platforms. He's saying the knowledge that was in Genesis, becoming one of us, has been increased in the day of 2020 for you to grip and grab. Because after that, if you don't grip and grab that which is the knowledge of this one, see this knowledge here he's talking about, he's saying their spirit knows good and evil. See, the flesh already know about that. He said now their spirit knows what our spirit knows. Because now it's become like us, knowing the two. The spirit. See, your flesh already knew what good and evil was. You see? Because it started it. So he's saying your spirit in the last days is going to be increased with knowing what good and evil is. So when you look at today and say, oh, it's so bad today, and they did this today, and they doing this today, and the day is worse than yesterday. It ain't worse. It's the same. It's the same knowledge. It's the same knowing good and evil. Today is the same in Genesis 22. Because now, today, he wants you to understand the spirit of good and evil is before you. Reach for the good and turn toward him. Reach to do the things good in your spirit and turn and eat of him. That's what he said. That's the knowledge he's talking about. He's not talking about, oh, you the people, oh, you the Hebrew Israelites, oh, you the this and you the Abraham this and Isaac this. No. We keep forgetting everybody that the Most High have used, he used for his glory. To represent him, to turn people to him, not to turn people to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. No. We have to teach the people that you got to turn to Yah, not the Hebrew Israelite movement, not the Hebrews. Not the the language of the Hebrew. You got to turn to Yah, because knowledge has been increased regarding spirit and truth. Now you know. That's what knowledge is. See, people really wants to believe that when he said in the last days knowledge is going to be increased, represents what they're learning today on these platforms. And they use it to the utmost. But guess what? That's a lie from the pit of hell. Knowledge is not to be increased for the flesh. The knowledge to be increased is that which is spirit. So that shows you how long Yah has been turmoiling with you in spirit. Even Yeshua on that mountain, just separating the flesh from the spirit. Here it is in Genesis. Now man is become as one of us, which is spirit, to know good and evil. He said in the last days, knowledge, which is knowing good and evil for what it is, take of good and eat of the tree of life in spirit and in truth. Okay, and then it says in Genesis 3 verse 22, and it says, and now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree and eat and live forever. Now you see how deep that is. It's telling you in the last days, knowledge is going to be increased to your spirit. That's what Sister Deborah is speaking to you all in the last 6 months. I've been trying to increase to your spirit. Good and evil is before you. Turn to Yah in spirit and in truth. Seek Yah in spirit and in truth. That's what Sister Deborah has been trying to get you to understand. You are a spirit and you are flesh. Stop eating the fleshly food for your flesh. Start eating the food that is spirit and that is truth. Now listen to this. Here he said in verse 22, Genesis 3 and 22. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. You know what that's saying? What Sister Deborah been telling you for the last 6 months. Again, this thing is spiritual. You got to eat him spiritual, not natural, not in this flesh. And that's what you be eating on this platform. When you take on messages that makes you feel good in your flesh, let me tell you, that's a fleshly meal you just had. But when you take on messages that make you, convict you, cause you to seek Yah and ask him to repent and repent to him and seek him more and more and more and wanting to desire to have his spirit in you, that's spirit. And that's why knowledge is increased. Because the knowledge is the knowledge of good and evil. Revealing good and evil clearly to you. So when judgment comes, you're not going to be able to say, when they did it then, but we didn't. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. It was increased. I prophesied. Knowledge shall be increased in the last days is the knowledge of good and evil. Having the ability to say within yourself, I want to do good. And in this good, I want to reach for the tree of life and eat of it and live forever. That's the knowledge that he's talking about, that shall be increased in the last days, so that you too can bypass all these fleshly meals on these devil platforms that's only feeding your flesh. Believe it or not, you are addicted. You're no different than the drug dealers, nor the drug addicts. You're no different than the alcoholics and those that choose to, not choose, but those are out there that's strung out and decided, not decided, I can't say decided, because that type of life is just the enemy. It's just the enemy, but that's drink day and night, night and day. Only way they find their way, if Yah grab them and take them to the light. So I say unto you, this knowledge being increased ain't the knowledge man has been teaching you. They've been lying to you. The knowledge is the knowledge of good and evil, being able to recognize the two and turning from that evil and desiring the good to lead you to Christ, to lead you to the Most High Yah, and eat of Him, which is spirit. You can't eat of Yah. And here he said, and listen to this in 22, and he said, and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. You can't eat of Yah. He talking spirit, you guys. Eat him up spirit. You see? So the knowledge, you being deceived to believe the knowledge is, oh, we the people, oh, we the children, we the this, and yo, he coming for us. He already didn't prophesize the gate is narrow. He already said there's a small remnant. He already spoke of 144. Revelation sealed everything and crossed out everything man says here from Genesis to Revelation. It crosses, Revelation cross all that out. Because if you don't see all that man is teaching from all these other books, making you think, oh, it's just you all gonna go on this same boat and you gonna y'all gonna sweep you away because you Jacob. Come on, y'all. Come on now. Jacob doing more sin than anybody on this face of this earth. Why is it more? It's because your father was a representative of the Most High Yah. And his children is not following their father's way. They have gone out from their father's house and decided to start back as they did, worshiping other idols. And the number one idol is YouTube. Another one is Facebook. Another one is Patreon, Instagram. All these pages are gods. And they're leading your flesh. They have nothing for your spirit. I haven't been on here for 3 weeks. Come back, it ain't no different. It's even worse. People are getting on here. They started off trying to do about Yah, and they flipped it to about them. These messages they on here about is all about them and about what they can get as far as subscribers and likes, you know, and they're enjoying it for what it is. But are they turning the souls to the Most High Yah? Are they speaking to you about the knowledge of good and evil is going to be increased? Because when they stand before judgment, He's going to say, I gave it to you at the beginning and it was present at the end. He don't even have to say that. He don't have to clarify or justify anything to you. He just put what He know you need down here. And He prophesies in the last days knowledge shall be increased. You got to take that, what He said, and then match it with Genesis 3 and 22. That is knowledge. Us is spirit. The knowledge of spirit shall be increased so that you can turn from flesh and go in a direction to the spirit. That's why I continue to be on here telling you all, search your spirit, man. You'll find out this really beautiful person that's in you. You'll find out, wow, thank you, Father Yah, for giving me this spirit. Because that spirit that's in you, guess what it has? It has the breath of Yah's life. And it knows who Yah is. But you don't know that as long as you're living in the flesh and you're eating the meals of the flesh. So you can't say anything to somebody who eat pork. Nobody who eat shrimps. No, none of them can say anything because they're still teaching the flesh. They haven't stepped in the realm of what is spirit. So therefore, the dietary law is simply for the flesh. Simply for the flesh. Like unto the teaching in which you all are speaking on these platforms is only for the flesh. It's not leading the people to the spirit. But I thank the Most High, y'all, for what he taught me today. He said to me, Deborah, I gave him to him in the book of Genesis, the same book I chastised you in. I gave it unto them. I said, man has become like one of us. Like one of us means spirit. Knowing it in their spirit. Knowing about good and evil in their spirit, Deborah. And when I said knowledge shall be increased, it's a liken to Genesis 3:22. Knowing good and evil shall increase. Knowing it. Knowing what was at the beginning. It reigned at the end. Let me set another example. Go to verse 24. Verse 24. Like a lot of people don't understand why all those, if you go back and you start looking at movies, and if you got some movies at home, you start looking at a lot of movies, you see that it represents what the word has already said. It's deep. You know, they really took stuff out of here and made movies. Okay. Verse 24. So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the garden of Eden a cherubim of flaming sword. You see that flaming sword? Which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. See how beautiful he is. Do you think that flaming sword is still there? Yes, it has been, always been there. When you saw movies that represents the stories that Yah has spoken out of his own mouth, there it is. He has always had a flaming sword. Even to today, the year 2020, he has a flaming sword that you may find your way to the tree of life. And that flaming sword, let me explain to you. It's not a man teaching you on these platforms. I want to make sure you get that clear. It's not Deborah teaching you on these platforms. That flaming sword is real. It is spirit. And it is true. That you may find your way. He will ever be present so you may find your way. You see, let's go to Nebuchadnezzar when he put the 3 Hebrew boys in the fire furnace. Back then, thousands of years, even he knew, they knew. They put 3, but they called out the 4th one. How did you know who the 4th one was? Because the only one could have been in there is the power of Yah's right hand, which is Christ, which is the Son of Man. Look like we see 4. They didn't say the Son of Man. No, they said the Son of Yah. See, that's why he said in Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, man has become now knowing good and evil, and unless he reach for the tree of life and eat and live forever. That means there's some action got to go on. And these actions that they're teaching on here ain't giving you no sort of action. All they teaching you how they can control you, just like the system. They don't even understand how it's over. The system of 666, they waiting for the mark of the beast, and they waiting for the vaccine, all that. It's over, you guys. They already took you here. They already marked you here. And they still don't get it. And it's too late. And I keep hearing that. It's too late. It's when I say it's too late, is so much is going on, and everywhere I go, people are talking about it. They say, well, what can we do? It's nothing. That flaming sword has always been there. Knowledge being increased, trying to tell you all, tap into the spirit of who you are so your spirit can reach for the tree of life, which is spirit. And you all are reaching for YouTube, Instagram, hatred, and all this sick talk a lot of these men, 99.9, are talking about. All the stuff that attacks your flesh, that's all they talk about. How you got to look. Woman got to be like this. Her clothes got to be like this. Tell me, what clothes did y'all have in righteousness did he create you in? Naked. That's why it was in Genesis. That's another belt for you all. A belt of chastising. When you look at man, then you look at God. So, okay, Father, how did you create us? What do you want us to wear? He said, when I put them, this is how he taught me through the Spirit. I put them, Deborah, in there naked. The way I put them in there. So, you know, this dressing they talking about and this cold, they don't want to hear what I said. They want to follow man. They want to follow man. Y'all ain't never told you. Where's in scripture that Jah told you to wrap your head? Where did y'all say, put on this here and put on that? Because y'all know this thing is spirit. And it is truth. He don't look at the outer man. He has constantly told us, don't look at the outer man. Because even when Sister Deborah talking, y'all be concerned about the way she said it, how she said it, how mean she sounded, but you don't even know who you before. Because when you stand before y'all, he going to tell you, I son you my property. Whether you liked her or not, she was mine. You're not supposed to like me. You're not supposed to like what I say. You're not supposed to like the way I think or the way I teach or the way I talk. You're not supposed to like it. You're supposed to hate it. Because it's spirit. Your spirit, if you would, y'all, you'll love it in the spirit. But to hate it or dislike it or rebuke or whatever they want to call it, it's because you're not in the same spirit that I walk in. You don't serve the most high that I serve. I had to come to terms to that. Even with my children and my mother. We don't serve the same Yah. We are not enemies. We are not hated. You find so many families not together. No, not with mine. But I tell you one thing. It's a difference between, because y'all done prophesied it. It's going to be in your household, 3 on this side and 2. He already done told. You know what? I tell you something else, women. Let me tell you something I found out. Throughout these 3 weeks, I was listening to the Most High tell me. He said, one of them was the code. The men are out so bad trying to dish the women and get them in so much control, just as the world trying to get the Negroes in control and keep them in control. Like always, your own brother in your own nations, they're trying to do you like the white man done them. They don't know how to do you no other way. They figure they can put out and do, or they want to be leaders. They want to be rulers. They want to be controllers. Let's get the women and do it. They ain't think they forgot the children, the liability y'all put them in over the children. Over the bringing the laboring. They forgot, hey, you supposed to be taking care of the children and the house, the bills, and laboring. He ain't talking about out here hooping and hollering on Patreon and YouTube. He ain't talking about laboring in no church. He's talking about laboring, really laboring to bring food into the house. They're not going to do it. They so busy on here telling you how you're supposed to dress, talk, act, walk, submit to them. All that's in the flesh. All that's in the flesh. None of it's spirit. Go back to Genesis when he said to the woman, her desire should be to her husband. And how her childbearing. Notice he did not curse her to the point of forever. Think, women. You missed it again, as always. He cursed the serpent forever. And he cursed man forever. But he did not curse woman. In the action in which she put on woman, he did not tell her all the days of her life. They won't teach you that. That's because you are so into feeding from them to where you ain't eating nothing. Say for instance, you never eat, you follow the dietary law. It don't matter if you ain't in this thing, spirit and truth, and you following all this here stuff that's on these platforms, these teaching. You already broke the dietary law, if you want to call it a law. You already broke that. So you can't say to the brother man, he can't eat this, ain't pork, and this. You can't say nothing. Because you ain't following the spiritual dietary law that Yeshua was on the mountaintop speaking of. It is, man shall not live on bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. He's separating spirit from flesh. that which you eat in the flesh versus that which you eat in the spirit. They can't be put together. You either gonna serve Yah in spirit and truth, or you're gonna serve man in your flesh. And that's what these platforms are about. So now, Sister Deborah, in full understanding why on Mount Olive Yeshua turned around when the disciples was with him privately, asking him what would the last day be before he gave them any insight of the last days. Because with me, I was like, what is it their business that what's going to happen? They're not going to be here. When this is how the Spirit taught me. He said, no, they're not going to be here, but they're going to be able to leave some token, some spiritual tokens for you, Deborah. I said, okay. But he said, I want you, that's not the message. That's not what I'm sending. He said, this is what I'm sending. He said, he turned to them and he said unto them, this is the 12, be not deceived. See, while they worried about what's the last going to be, he wanted to let them not to be deceived. Sister Deborah saying that today. In the spiritual realm, be not deceived. Because these platforms is what you call 100 times 100 deceiving. When you learn who Yah is in the spirit and all that he has given us, the gifts and everything, spirit, and we worshiping him in our flesh. We're not serving him in our spirit. When we fall in everything man is saying, stop this wanting to be in control, men. You don't want to be in control. Because the days is before us where you about to get out of control. You already been out of control. Now you about to really get out of control. And you're going to see all that manipulation that you're trying to stir up for the women. Without thinking that the woman is not your seed. Your children that proceeded out of you is your responsibility and your liability. How dare you bypass them, feeding them, clothing them, counseling them, taking care of them, and leading them, and bypassing to your women. It can't be done. So that leads me to understand that you're totally out of order. Not only just are you out of order spiritual, you out of order natural. Because your own seed comes from you. Those children are yours. That woman is another man's seed. She don't belong to you. When you leave your mother and father, he didn't say she cleaved to you. He said you cleaved to her because he knew how he set it up. See, he know the spiritual part of what he set up from the floor. While you running, why are you leaving another mother and a father? So you can cleave to a woman that's going to be able to help you in every area that you need be. But when you destroy the only one that birthed your nation, bring forth your seed, you ain't got nothing coming but what you see today. That's why our children and our young men, the way that they are, is because of their fathers today, yesterday, and forevermore. Because of the way that they are. They refuse to turn to the Yah in spirit and in truth. They desire to live this life of power, control. Everybody in this thing about power and control. I was them. Let me tell you something. Even as a mother that has a household that's always been led by Yah. I'm going to tell you, I've been a little girl. I always trusted him. I always turned to him. I realized that all these years, I knew I didn't have nobody but him. Married 30. It's going on 31 years. It would have been. It's still 31 years. Raising 6 children. You know. My children go to daycare and all this. My children at home. I raised them. I breastfed them. I disciplined them. I did everything that the Most High Yah gave me strength to do the best that I knew how with the help that he had given me. But I can say this for sure. It's a sad thing how the hearts of our men are like unto their fathers and nothing different. They're still wanting women to worship them, and they haven't gotten the order together for the children. The children are your tomorrow, and they don't want to touch that. They don't want to even think the fact of discipline, feeding, laboring, taking care of your household and doing it. They don't want to see even nowhere near that. But they want to rule and be kings and leaders. That's all in their flesh. So just Sister Deborah would say this here. Understand that the Most High Yah is not saying knowledge will be increased in the flesh. He's saying in the spirit, because this thing is over. It's over. And if you don't get them last understanding what is in the spirit, you can't reach for the tree of life. It is spirit, you all, and it is truth. All this stuff that they're giving you all is all flesh. You are being deceived. So I, Sister Deborah, and I will be back. Says, shalom, shalom.